being perfectly honest, we're only 6 chapters into Zipman. I already really like it. I already really like the series. I think it's very fun. I really like the concept. I really like a lot of like the way that like the powers work. But I'm a big fan of the villains so far. I mean, even without really knowing any of them, I really like the concept behind them. That you have all these other villains that are doing their big schemes, their big endgame stuff, or whatever their purpose is, taking control, conquering something, resurrecting something, doing whatever their long complex scheme is, which is usually tied with a lot of really interesting character stories and backgrounds and what sets them off in this path. And you can get really attached in those aspects, and it becomes more of like trying to understand the character for what their reasoning is that puts them on this path. With Zipman, I really like the fact that the bad guys seem to just be like, it's like a bunch of weebs trying to live out the fantasy lives that they always wanted, that they're now in their mind able to achieve. And when you say it, like, it sounds a little bit silly in that kind of aspect, but really think about it. When you're somebody who's read or watched like all these different fictions that you're a fan of, you always get that that big fan like idea. What would you be like in this world? Man, I really wish I had these powers. I wish I could have a life like this. It just because when you get delved into the story in the world, it's just such an enthralling tale. Usually, when obviously I don't have to name a series. It could just be whatever you're interested in. That you want to live that life. And obviously, though, these are fantasy, it really adds up to it being like a fantasy that I think any fan can really just really long for. And that's what Zipman really has with these exosuits, these bad guys, that their character persona, whatever suit they wear, whatever kind of person they're depicting, is pretty much what, like, something that's going to tell like what it is they're longing for, but also it's going to, you can relate to it. Like this bad guy, I don't think we got a name for him yet, but he's got like this cool fire, like, mechanical fantasy character, and he like, I'm very curious also to know like how the zippers work. Like it's like just some random building. You see like a character find one of these zippers. I imagine if it's there already that it's got to be like set. It's not like some weird portal thing. But it unzips this building. It becomes this really sick like steampunk like mechanical fantasy style of a construct. You have all these civilians locked up, and then the villain, this guy, and he's got like this. He's got like this big armored fantasy style. Like he got like flaming hair. He's got a big sword that also again opens up looking like a zipper. I will say this. I really like it when concepts are very weird, but in the series, then like the authors take them very seriously. Something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Beyblade. It's like, when you think about it, from our perspective, it's like, I mean, it's a little bit silly, zippers, but in their world, obviously, it's going to be way bigger, and it's a way more serious kind of thing. It's kind of like in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like, they settle all their stuff with card games, and, they're about to have their 7th series, and really everything is settled with card games. It's like, I mean, yeah, and in real world, you can kind of like that as silly, but it's normal in theirs, and it seems to where zippers are going, and, these zippers are, well, he's got all these cool powers and stuff, all these crazy tech stuff. But like all these guys are just like, trying to escape. They don't really know what to do. You got one of these other bad guys coming up. Also really cool too. You got like his fire armor knight. You got like I'd assume a dinosaur. You got like this little mouse person. This really big chick with a case on her back. Very interesting bad guys. Without having to do a lot. I think that's just the way that like they're the weird kind of metallic suit design added on to like it. It just makes it a little bit more interesting. He's not going to be, doesn't seem like he's a reference. I don't know what he'd be referencing to. If this guy's a reference character, let me know. And there's going to be some references one coming up with like the Optimus Prime look-alike, the Devil Man look-alike. But this guy is like characters trying to flee, brings up his sword, uses some, so he's like hero magic thunder, and you see this giant cleave that just cuts like a massive gash into the ground, and people being like, yeah, let's probably not get cut up by this guy. And he's explaining that he wants to pretty much make like a big RPG scenario, and he's going to give people like roles as NPCs and characters, and anybody left over is going to be pretty much a monster, and they're going to get a role of just some random. And again, it's like you have this guy who is like in his mindset, he's like, oh, well, I'm going to try and live out this, fantasy world that I really want to be in. And at the same time, he's a bad guy. Like for me, I'm a huge fan of fantasy, so I can easily link up with the guy just based off that. It's this life that he clearly has like a huge wish for, and even though he's definitely a bad dude, he's seemingly holding all these guys hostage, he's gonna kill some of them. I can both see where he's coming from in that kind of like delusional mindset, that huge longing for this life, but at the same time, I want the good guy. I want Kaname and Kosher to show up as Zipman and defeat him. And then while these people are like the police, I don't think it's the normal police. What's it? The Japanese Special Defense Force, I think that's what they're called, show up. And they like shoot like the front with what like a rocket. No, not a rocket. I think they set up a bunch of explosives in general. Probably a bunch of plastic explosives like C4 or something. Doesn't do any damage to it. You have all these big mech guys come down that. I laughed because the first thing I saw when looking at these big, just generic, well, they're like the foot soldiers for these guys. They look like the Shovel Knight, and if you've never played Shovel Knight, just Google Shovel Knight, you'll see it. You can't unsee it after that. But they're just showing up, they're getting ready to attack all these police officers, and like the bad guy doesn't come off like evil. He's seemingly just like a dude having fun, and I like that, but he's not really a bad guy. He's talking about like creating a hero's world, and he only sees it as trying to live out this fantasy life. And at the same time of like, I can understand that kind of like want, but dude needs to get put down. I really liked also the way that the mangaka has like the panel when you have Zip Up come up with, here comes in Zipman, and you just see like the zippers aligning and gapping between each of the panels. I thought that was really cool. I really liked that small like little addition to it. And then Zipman shows up, and oh my god, he looks so badass in this whole panel. I'm really hoping this manga does well. I've enjoyed a lot of manga that get one shots. The last time I got really sad when one got canceled was Golem Hearts. I really like that series. I wish it did get canceled. But it's starting to look that path for Zipman, that if I would have just as much attachment, and I'm really hoping that it does well, because it's got a lot of potential. Like the design, the art, the characters are really fun. I can't wait to see this next upcoming fight. Like I really like even small stuff like this, the display of like, oh, we tried to blow up this big fortress store with explosives, didn't work, and you just have main character bust in like it's nothing, and then just have this kind of like light shining through the gate, and he's just looking badass stepping onto the scene. Super stoked for the next bit. So I am really enjoying this series. I saw that it's starting to get a little bit of traction. It's starting to seemingly get some good spots in Shonen Jump, and I noticed some people talk about it online. I'm hoping it does well. And then, 2 weeks, we're going to be getting another new series, on the Witch's Guardian, which is going to be really cool because Zipman is done by a former assistant of Horikoshi, mangaka of My Hero Academia, and The Witch's Guardian is going to be done by a former assistant of Tabata, the mangaka of Black Clover. And I think it's really cool because Tabata and Horikoshi are friends, and I think it's going to be really neat that they're just like how they have their own manga running, or like they came, I think My Hero Academia is like 21 chapters ahead of Black Clover, and then you're gonna have their assistants have their own manga coming out around the same time, and that'd be really cool to have them like having a successful manga. I'm really hoping both of them are good and successful. Well, Zipman's already good. I can't speak for Witch's Guardian yet, but I'm hoping it does well. I'm hoping Zipman does really well, and it'd be really cool to see these run at the same time, while having the background that they had as former assistants of two guys who were kind of in a way seen as rivals, but also friends. So comment below, tell me your thoughts are about this chapter. I really like it. I'm really enjoying Zipman so far. I'm having fun with it. I really look forward to seeing some of these upcoming fights with these bad guys, and exactly, just seeing, again, it's like, it's like Koshiro and Kaname, but just Zipman in general, Zipman, flex on some of these guys. I assume that the main guy will be like a normal fight, but some of like the mouse guy's probably gonna get crushed. The chick might get a little bit of display. I don't know, maybe the big T-Rex. I'd probably issue in that order. And then obviously Big Fire Knight guy is going to be their biggest opponent, as their leader. So comment below, tell me your thoughts about this chapter, tell me your thoughts about the series in general. Again, it's fun. If you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. It's got a lot of really, really fun stuff in the first 6 chapters. And other than that, you should befriend the like button, thumbs it up, befriend the like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. But I appreciate everybody's already subscribed, and thank y'all for listening. Bye.